working. Yeah.
Okay, we're rolling.
All right, this is an interview at the New York State Military Museum, Saratoga Springs, New York, approximately 11 a.m., 21st of October 2004. Interviewers are Mike Russert and Wayne Clark. Could you give me your full name, date of birth, and place of birth, please?
Stephen W. Grozzo, date of birth February 18th, 1915.
And where were you born?
Mechanicville, New York.
All right. What was your educational background prior to entering service?
A high school graduate. That's at Mechanicville High School, 1934.
Okay. Do you remember where you were and your reaction when you heard about Pearl Harbor?
Yes. My brother was in the military, and he just got discharged about 2 or 3 weeks before Pearl Harbor, and we were all home at my mother's house, and heard then, well, shortly after a telegram came, he had to report back to New York. He was in Fort Drum, I believe. He had to report back to Fort Drum.
He was in the Army then?
He was in a, yeah, he was in a Ghost Artillery and Field Artillery at that time. That's that morning when it all, the whole gang was there because he was home. We were going to play. We always played not gin rummy, the other game, euchre or poker or pinochle, one or the other.
Do you remember your reaction when you heard about this, or the reaction of the family?
Well, all I said was, "Won't be long now." But that's about it. We all got together. Of course, at the time, my son Bill was a few months. Let me see. He wasn't a year old. He was born in 1943.
So you were married before you went into service?
Yeah, I was and they had me in class 3A, draft 3A, and when the war Pearl Harbor, I got almost immediately. I was put in class 1A, A1A, and so I got notice that I was going to be in 1A, and then in July 1943. My brother Andy, he was the only other boy. There were 6 boys in the family. He was the only one that wasn't in. John was in, George was in, Alec was in, and Andy said, I might just well go down. So we both went down to Albany, enlisted we saw whatchamacallit on the wall down the post office in the Navy. SeaBees were taking people. So we went in and talked to a recruiting officer, and Jesus, it wasn't long. And he gave us papers and all, and I had to have a couple of letters of recommendation from the people I worked with. So I got home and I called Mr. Sterling, was the manager of the paper mill where I worked, and the head of the department that I was in, whose name was Russell George. I had to have letters of recommendation. So anyway, they got them, and I got called up that I would receive a second-class petty officer's rating to go in. So I started off right at first, right in, but I had to go through boot camp. And
now, did your brother go in with you?
He both went and enlisted, but he went in another. He got put in another outfit.
Oh, okay.
And he got a nicer outfit. He was in a small CBMU, a small. There was a couple hundred people. There were construction battalion maintenance unit, and he got into one of them, and I got into I eventually wound up in the stevedore unit, one we used to unload cargo, bombs. Tanks. Well, we did a lot of nice work out there. And I spent 2 full years in the Pacific Theater.
Now, where did you go for your basic training?
Williamsburg, Virginia. Camp Perry.
Okay. And did you receive any what specialized training? Did you knew you were going into the SeaBees, correct?
Yeah, right.
So did you receive any specialized training?
No. Shortly after boot camp, I went in, I was assigned to a battalion, and I had a second class rating, and maybe company clerk. So I was our company B. I was a clerk, and we went through advanced training, and boot camp was a tough deal. It was hot, awful hot. And
How long was your boot camp?
6 weeks, I think.
6 weeks.
6 weeks boot, and I think it was 6 weeks advance. And I went in and I enlisted July 12th. I was sworn in July 12th, and I went in on active duty July 19th, 1943. And July 16th, I think it was December 16th, 1943. I was going under the Golden Gate Bridge, headed up to the Pacific area. 6 months later, I was gone.
Now, how did you get from the East Coast to the West? By train, or?
We started from here. We went from Williamsburg. We went to Gulfport, Mississippi, and from Gulfport, Mississippi, we went to Port Hueneme in California, and we shipped out from Port Hueneme.
Now, were you joined into a unit at that time?
We were commissioned a battalion in Camp Perry, and probably 6-8 weeks. Maybe I don't remember the exact date, but we were made a battalion in Camp Perry.
Okay, and that's the 17th?
17th Special Naval Construction Battalion.
Okay. Now, when you went out into the Pacific, were you in a convoy or a single ship? Or?
You wouldn't believe it, but we had one single ship. It was a Dutch ship. I think it was Dutch. It was small. I think it was 285 feet long, and we left no escort. We got out there. Our dirigible went out with us till it got dark, and then they flickered to give it the signals, and back they went. And we came home. We never once saw anything after that. We went down to the Fijis and the Samoas, and down the New Hebrides, and we had to stay out of New Hebrides one day because they had a couple of Jap submarines lurking around there. They didn't want us to go through the channel. So we stayed out in the harbor at New Hebrides, and then we went on up to the Solomon Islands, Russell Island. We went to a particular brand. It was the Russell Islands in Solomons. Guadalcanal. We were right near Guadalcanal.
Now, approximately how many were in your unit?
I think we had 996 officers and men.
Did most of them have like a construction background, or had they received all their training in the
No, we weren't in construction. Our outfit was mainly hard workers.
Okay.
A lot of, the stevedores. They were handling the equipment.
So it was a lot of bulwark.
Yeah.
Did you operate any kind of machinery
Well,
at all?
they had cranes. We had cranes, and they had to operate the winches and stuff on the ships to unload cargo.
Okay.
But they were all trained, went to school for that. And there's a lot of other things they did. They used to splice and wire and splice and rope and all of that stuff. But our main deal was getting supplies and unloading them and storing them, and then when they wanted them, we would ship them out. My biggest shot there was we went to the Russell Islands, and then we went up to the Admiralty Islands, up in the just about 6 or 7 degrees off of the equator. We were up there unloading cargo, getting ready for a couple of invasions, and we were in the Admiralties for somewhere around 3 or 4 months, I guess, and we went back down to Solomon Island, down at Guadalcanal, and we got ready for, they transferred, there was a couple hundred of us. They attached us to the 1st Marine Division, and we took the place on the invasion of Pelelieu. We took the place of the Marine, what do they call them, the first ones that went in.
Usually the first wave, they call them?
Yeah, well, yeah. It was the first, we replaced the Marines. They used them for something else, and we had about 300 of us went in, we went in Pelelieu, and the fourth, we were in the fourth wave. And my particular unit, we had to unload, we had to get oil and water. We had been loading all prior to this. We used to go out and get 55-gallon drums and wash them all out and load them with water, and then we had some of them with gasoline. And our particular duty at that time was to get water and oil, and I think it was, they had a big flag with the, what you call it on it, the crescent on it. And that was our duty there. And we were attached to Marine Division for quite some time. And that was some division, the 1st Marines. They were tough. You know, what gets me, they talk about these people spend 6 months over in the Mideast and all of that stuff. And the 1st Marine Division, if you were around, if you watch them, they were a tough outfit. They were good, they were smart, they were tough, and we were attached to them.
Now, what did you unload, the landing craft onto the beach? Or
yeah.
As they came in, was the beach still under fire when you were in?
It was under fire for a long time. You really and truly, you wouldn't believe it unless you see it in the movies. It was something to watch.
Now, what kind of gear did you wear at that time?
We had, at the time, we had green. They weren't jumper suits. They were the green bottom, green tops.
Something like the Marines, then, the same.
Yeah. And we all had to have, what you call it, it's a funny thing. It happened, but we had to have, well, it was about a 3 or 4 inch. We had a stencil, and we had to paint it almost on the back of almost on our cheeks, right in between them, and one up in here, in case you want to desert, that the sharpshooters had a target.
Well, was it a target?
That's what it was for, yeah. And we all were issued green blankets.
Now, did you carry any weapons at all?
Well, we always carried the rifles. We had our helmets, and what the hell was I talking about?
Well, the beach, you were on the landing beach, as you were talking about.
Yeah, yeah. We had to go in there. Well, one time there, I don't know what happened, but I think the Marines were giving us a pretty good, the Jappies were giving us a pretty good shot of mortars. And it was the smoke was quite green coming from them. Somebody hollered, gas attack. Gee, I went to put my gas mask on, and both eyes fell out of it. so that wouldn't have done any good. Both lenses fell out of it. So that wouldn't have done any good, but it was a false alarm anyway. There was no place to go. You wouldn't go anyway. You had to go back out in the ocean. Where the hell else we go?
Did you have any close calls? Were you wounded at all, or?
No, no. But we were going around in our landing craft. We were going around and around, and one of the mortar shells got right in, landed right in there, and it was a hell of an eruption, water. But that's about as close as any of this.
No, most of the landing craft there were the alligators, weren't they? Or
yeah. Well,
you were in alligators, or was that that was the first wave or so?
I don't know what they call. There was tanks. There were small tanks.
With treads, yes.
Yeah. They weren't them real first landing barges, you know. With the,
right, yeah, they were called alligators, the ones that had the treads.
Is that the name of them?
Yes. Yeah. So that's what you used to go in, and is that what you unloaded on the beach, or the different treaded vehicles came in, or did other landing craft come in later?
The other stuff. The other thing, we had them boats. We used to use them, the land craft, the boats, and it was like a truck. We used to go out to our ammunition ship, and we'd have to get so many 105 shells, so many 155s and whatever. And we used to go by. And then we had to go out there. First off, you went out and you had the waves hit you, so you got soaked all through. But that's what we got. We got pretty nearly hit our ammo ship. I was pretty close on that one. We got the ammo and moved out and brought it into where we wanted it. We had to make a couple of trips, but I forget what they call them. They run on land and sea. In fact,
the ducks?
Ducks.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what we went out to bring in some ammo. Went out to get some ammo for them. But prior to that, the night before, the Japs came in with their PT boats and they strafed that ammo ship. They were very lucky, I guess. They didn't hit the vital parts. You see, the next morning you could see them. The Merchant Marine, people in the Merchant Marine that were in charge of the ship were putting circles and stuff around where the bullet holes were. So they got paid for so many bullet holes. They got extra money for that, you know. The Merchant Marine, they got paid for that. They were,
now, how long were you on the beach at Pelelieu?
well, it's all beach, actually.
Well, yeah. How long were you there on that island?
Oh, we spent almost 6 months there. After, it was a long time getting them. That's the first time, I think that's one of the first times that they had little small Piper Cubs, or either Piper Cubs or whatever they were, but they were using napalm bombs at the time. They were the ones in napalm, that's that mixture of gas and whatever it was. And they were only I think only a mile and a half run. They get up and drop their napalm bombs. We stayed there quite a while, but they had a lot of snipers there. And of course, Angwar was across the harbor, and that was they had eventually wound up with big bombers on there. Well, there were B-17s and B-24s, I think it was. And they used that as a base. And then up above, the island was Koror. I think there was about 50, they claimed, they didn't know for sure, there were 55, 60,000 Japs on there. They just surrounded them, they couldn't go any place, they couldn't do anything except terrorize them when they get a shot to come out. But that was all in one area. That Pelelieu was quite an operation. I think the only one, I understand, the only one that beat that was Okinawa, or what was the other one?
Iwo Jima?
Iwo Jima, yeah. But we lost an awful lot of people on you know, when the invasion. Geez, you just kept going. That's all it is. That's all there was to it. There was nothing to it. What his name was on there with us. Colonel. He died just recently. He got his son was in them. Colonel Purdy, was it? In the First Marine Division. Colonel.
Yeah.
He was quite the guy. He was in charge of First Marines. And we weren't there too long when a couple of Navy SeaBees battalions of construction people built a couple of houses. The admiral was going to be in charge of the island, so they built a couple nice 5-room houses for her.
Now, what did you stay in while you were there?
Tents. Tents. We stayed in tents with them big 16 by 16s. We stayed in them. It was two. We were lucky. There was two to a tent. We were of course. Eventually, I became a chief petty officer, and we had a little more privileges than the other ones. And we had two to a tent, and some of them, I got some pictures home of them. We kept them kind of nice.
Did you have any problems with tropical diseases, malaria or dengue fever, anything like that?
Well, malaria, they used to give us some yellow atabrine. And we couldn't, when we were with the Marines, you're going to have food, go to chow time. You had one big Marine standing there with a big bucket of these, and he tossed them in, and if you didn't take the atabrine out, you wouldn't eat. And most of us that took atabrine got awful yellow color. We got a yellow. It wasn't tan; it was yellow.
Where did you go after Pelelieu?
Went up to the Philippines. We were in the Philippine Islands. We went to in Leyte Gulf. At that time, then we wound up on we had a what they call we were in instead of being on land base, we were in a houseboat, like they called it a floating hotel. It was nice. They used to tow them around in the Pacific. I don't know how many there were. We were in we were staying in the Astor. The name of the hotel was, or the ship, the Hotel Astor. It was kind of nice. You got laundry on there and everything, good food. Not too many people on there. It was good.
What were your duties when you were assigned to that, to the Astor?
Same thing.
Same thing.
Yeah, yeah. When we were in that big harbor, Leyte harbor in Leyte, I think there was, I'm not sure, but there was 1,000 ships in Leyte, from rowboats to battleships and aircraft carriers, and we used to even had to go up to our there was a submarine base, or I don't know if it was a base or not, but there were these submarines where we used to have to go up there around midnight, go to a refrigerator ship, pick up ice cream and stuff, and bring it to the submariners, because it was so hot. Midnight was supposed to be the coldest or the coolest, and we used to go up there quite often and bring ice cream to the submariners. But one time we were going up and a storm blew up. Holy gee, what a storm! And we were on the landing craft going up there at that time, and we wound up going on the going by one of the big ships, the Alabama. Battleship Alabama was there, and they were waving us in, and we got aboard there, and they gave us coffee and stuff until the storm blew over, and then we went on up, and up above too in Ulysses, they had fruits and vegetable ships, refrigerated. We used to go up on there and get fresh fruit and stuff. I don't know how fresh they were, but there was more oranges and apples and stuff on the deck of the ship than we used to get. Yeah, well, Philippines was the last one. That's the brother I went into service with. I wound up visiting him there. He was up Giwan, up in Giwan. It was about, I would say, 50 miles north of where we were. And guys, I had to get the written permission. Lucky I didn't have to have the president to sign it. And I'm going up to visit him 50 miles away, and I can't, there's no any place to go. But we happened, the fellow was going up there on our small boat there, was going up to deliver some mail or something up there, and I rode up with him, and I had to have permission to get up there.
Now, there were so many from Mechanicville in the service. Did you run into anyone else while you were in service from Mechanicville?
No, but when I was seeing my brother, I was there the day before, a couple of days, and the same day that the atom bomb was dropped. We were both together at that time. But I did see a fella, he passed out and passed away now. He was on I think it was the USS Dixie, a repair ship. I met him. And another fella I met, mechanic, you probably might know him, he's interested in the VFW. Ernie Leffner Jr., you ever hear him?
No, I don't think we've interviewed him.
Well, I met him when we were in the Admiralty Islands. We were going to midnight mass, and a whole bunch of whacks. They just came in from the plane landed there, and we were at midnight mass, and I heard my nickname is Zeke, Z-E-K-E. Hey, Zeke! Geez, I said, I don't know anybody who knows my name. And so I hear it again. And but Ernie, he was my old neighbor. He used to be my old neighbor. He might be 10 years younger than I am. He's all of 10. And he was with the 27th Navy Construction Battalion. He did a pretty good job. I guess he saved a couple of lives. You know, he might be running for president one day, but he's a little too late.
What were your feelings, you and your brother, when you heard about the dropping of the atomic bomb?
Good. Glad at that part, we were concerned. So now maybe we could go home. Of course, then I left him and went back to our hotel. I asked her, and he went. I don't know where he wound up.
Do you remember hearing about President Roosevelt's death and your reaction to that?
I don't know about the reaction. I was kind of surprised. But I did, when they dropped the bomb, I know what the reaction was there. I think I'm an enrolled Republican, but I said I was sure as hell going to vote for Harry Truman when the bomb was dropped. I think Truman ordered it, didn't he?
Yes, yes.
A lot of celebration.
Well, when you're out to some small, like we were, we didn't have much. You know, in fact, we got one time. I don't know what the hell they were going to do with us. We went to our chief pharmacist, and we got a little bit of alcohol. A little bit goes a long way, and we had half a dozen of us had a little nip apiece, 180 proof alcohol. And first thing you know, they got called up to the captain of the ship. Don't ever do that again. And of course, the chief pharmacist made he got hell too. I don't.
Did you ever get to see any USO shows while you were there?
Yes. Bob Hope.
Okay.
I forget the island we were on. Bob Hope and Jerry Colonna and
Francis Langford.
who? Francis Langford, yeah. Francis Langford was there. And one of the girl dancers, I can't think of her name, but that was a nice show. I think that was in the Admiralty Islands. Not much action up there, but we were close. Admiralty Island was close to one of the Japanese big islands. It was one of their main, ready to jump from there.
Now, where did you go out as the war ended? Did you stay in the Philippines, or when did you eventually go home?
The war ended in the Philippines. We were in the Philippines, and we wound up we were supposed to go to San Francisco, and the people in San Francisco were on strike, so they diverted us up to Seattle. And when we got up to going to Seattle, I never saw such a storm in all my life. It was a small boat that we were coming over on. I wouldn't even call it a ship. It was a small one, troop ship. And when we hit the rain and the heavy rains and the heavy seas, and they rock and over and go down, and then you could hear the propellers turning. And finally, we were about 1,000 miles, I think, maybe 1,200 miles away from Seattle, and we lost power. And we're floating around there. There were dead ducks. I mean, there were still supposed to be mines out there. I didn't understand they were, and they couldn't steer it or anything. And lucky they did fix it. But I found every life belt that was around. I put the one around here, and I put the jackets on, and I put everything I could, because I said, "Geez, I ran away home, and I'm gonna drown here." But I did it, but it turned out all right. But Seattle, I think we were in Seattle at every day we take muster 2 or 3 times a day. The trains coming in. They did that for 2 weeks. I mean, just drive you crazy. And it rained. Rained every day I was in Seattle. I was there maybe 2 weeks, waiting to come home. And then we came home to Seattle. We came all the way across. We wound up in part of our people went to Maryland, and we went to Lido Beach in Long Island. That's where we wound up getting discharged. That was in December 1945, I think. Yeah. It was a little shaver. We got to New York. A fellow was in the battalion with us was from Mount Vernon, up around in that area somewhere. He was going to meet his wife, and my wife was going to meet me down there. And he had a little slip in the Daily Mirror newspaper. It was from some guy wrote it. When in New York, it was to veterans, go to Hotel McAlpin, show them this card or whatever, and you'll get taken care of. Well, this guy and I walked in, and there was a person waiting there. We explained, it was a woman. We explained to her what I was. Oh, yes. Right over, we went up to the check-in desk. There were admirals there and generals and everything else, and they took the two of us ahead of everybody. Nick Kenny column in the Daily Mirror. But we wound up, I think we stayed, I don't know, 2 or 3 nights. I think it cost $16 for the whole works. Everything, meals and everything we got.
Wow.
Those days are over.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's quite a thing there in New York. That Nick Kenny's column, that's what, Nick Kenny in the Daily Mirror. That's a long time ago.
But how did you get up to Mechanicville?
Train.
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 Did you ever make use of the GI Bill?
Never.
How about the 5220 Club?
Never.
Didn't use it.
You didn't get a VA mortgage or anything?
Never.
No?
I got a card to go to VA hospital, but I never used it. Thank goodness I don't want to use it as far as that goes.
Yeah. Did you join any veterans organizations at all?
Yeah, I belong to VFW. I was the first adjutant in Mechanicville, 6328, when we were organizing in 1946. I was the first adjutant for a good number of years. And then we had the fun organization of the Veterans of Foreign Wars, the Cooties. I was a commander of the Cooties for a couple of years. That was a fun organization where they wore the crazy hats and pins and stuff on them. In fact, I still got them. Yeah,
Did you have your picture taken at that one restaurant in Mechanicville?
No, that's a funny thing.
God, you must have been the only one that didn't.
All my brothers did. I never, of course, when I was first started working after high school, I went to work for a tavern in Mechanicville, Crotty's, and they sold clams, and Sicilianos sold clams, and so they were kind of competitors. I think they sold more clams than we did, but we used to sell. When I worked in Jack Crotty's place, we used to sell 10 barrels of clams a week, and there's 2,000 clams in a barrel.
Wow.
And they all had to be washed and sounded out and steamed. It was a lot of work. But I never got up to Sicilianos much.
Yeah, there's a restaurant in Mechanicville that has hundreds of photographs of veterans.
Yeah. I got my brother, well, the last picture I got up there from Siciliano, all of my brothers and I were in civilian clothes. We had that taken. In fact, I think I gave Mike Sullivan one of them, I think.
Oh, okay. All right. Did you ever stay in contact with anyone that was in service with you?
No. I'll tell you what we were. We were one of the first integrated battalions.
Oh, really?
SeaBees battalions. And they were tough people to get along with, you know.
So how many blacks did you have in your unit?
About half.
Really?
Yeah, had a lot of them.
Now, were your quarters separate, or?
They were, and they were for a while. The mess hall, they ate separate at that time, but they cut that out too. They used to come in. They had a piece of canvas going along there, and they separated the blacks from the whites in the mess hall. And every time they come in the morning, or when they come in, some black guy would tear the canvas down, and there'd be an argument and a fight and stuff going on. And eventually that came down, and they did what we did, or we did what they did.
So eventually everybody got along?
Oh yeah, except we were up in the Philippine Islands. The war had ended, but we were going up the Philippines. There was some ships up there that had been sunk down around Guadalcanal. They towed them up to the Philippines to get whatever was in them. There was a lot of steel in them. Then we're going to use that for repairs. And we were assigned to go up there and work to unload, get them ships unloaded. So anyway, they assigned us to barracks and stuff. And one night I'm in the barracks, and of course we had always used mosquito netting in our cots. And the guy had a flashlight and shined in my face. I almost went nuts. I don't know what the hell it was. And I looked up. It was our company commander, commissioned officer. He says, "Come on, we got big problems." And I said, "What was that?" He said, "Did you have a bed check tonight?" I said, "I didn't have a bed check, but we had a guy always checking it. One of our second class petty officers checking the bunk black." And he said everything was okay. Well, come to find out, it was a civilian was killed somewhere along there, and they came down and they picked our people. By Jesus, the two of them wound up in I think the name of it was Calicone Prison, an old Spanish prison in Leyte, somewhere in there, and they wound up going to jail for a long time. They had people from the United States, over lawyers and everything, go over to try to get them out. But we were fortunate; we didn't know anything about it. They didn't use us as witnesses or anything. But we had to wait, and they kept us in the Philippine Islands for extra time until the case was settled. I don't know where these kids were. One of them, I would never dream that he would do that. Somebody was killed. They killed one or two over a girl.
How do you think your time in the service changed or had an effect on your life?
Oh, well, I think I really think the best thing in the world. I think they ought to do it right now. People get out of high school, they ought to give them a couple of years in the military. I don't think it would hurt, but it's a great experience. Of course, wartime was greater and tougher. We never had any. These people talk about food and stuff. We never had any fresh food. We didn't know what the hell milk was. Everything was powdered or frozen. We used to get stuff from New Zealand. Goat meat. Jesus, you ever smell it? You won't eat it. And they used to send us, supposed to be butter. It was oleo, I guess. Perhaps it would be was in them number 10 cans. And it'd be out in the sun. It wouldn't even melt out in the sun. I don't know what the hell it was made out of. And it was hot. And C rations, K rations. That's all we ever had. Except we were once in a while we used to get a big ship and unload. One time we got a Norwegian ship came in, and they invited all of us to eat with them every dinner time. They were good, except Jesus, they never put any seasoning on their food, and then no salt or anything out there. But everything was nice. So guys, their officers dressed in uniforms, the dying. They were nice. They didn't care about us, but they fed us. They were nice. That was in the Philippines, so yeah. And coconuts. I wish I had $1 for every coconut I ate. Jesus.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your interview.